Talk some college football now. Oklahoma continues to try to beef up its defensive front. That's arguably not a strong suit of this or many other Sooner teams. Two more transfer linemen, though, added this weekend. One from the familiar Tennessee program and the other entering his 7th season.
You know, John, you cannot win without great down linemen. It says that in Genesis. Philip Paya has 2 more years eligibility. A 9-season college player could be. First 3 seasons at Michigan, last 2 with the Aggies. Big body, perhaps a supporting role. Earlier, OU got the commitment of the more recognized John Terry, 6'4", 321, reportedly played 231 snaps with 16 tackles, 2 sacks for Josh Heupel last season. I think that's 10 or 11 down linemen now for Oklahoma. Now, how good's Terry? No problem with size and stats. I reached out to familiar SEC sources with direct knowledge, a coach and a dependable insider. Both say he's a 2-down guy, not all 3 downs. One said he'd heard the player wanted more NIL money than Tennessee was willing to pay. They both said solid against the run, but no pass rush against SEC athletes. One thing's obvious. You can't continue losing 5-star in-state down linemen like Durant Zadavian Sims to Oregon, Dan Lanning. And can they avoid 5-star David Stone? People like that exiting as well. Also, we're hearing OSU transfer Jacob Lacey is dealing with a non-football injury and may not play this season. Finally, another active former head coach, very familiar with Oklahoma's roster, said talent is not at the championship level, but getting there. So that's some optimistic news.
Well, OU and Texas representatives were on hand at the SEC meetings in Destin this week, and perhaps the most talked about topic was whether after the addition of the Sooners and Longhorns, teams would play 9 non-conference games instead of 8. Well, here's the quote from the commissioner: creating a 1-year schedule will provide a longer on-ramp to manage football scheduling around existing non-conference commitments of our members. It will also provide additional time to understand the impact of an expanded college football playoff. And that's Greg Sankey, and it's a lot of words, but it has to be.
Yeah, and the SEC has an exceptional commissioner there in Greg Sankey. And with the new conference having 16 teams, Sankey would only deem it a temporary measure during the transition period. Like most things, this issue starts and ends with money. And ESPN, you got to think they're going to prefer seeing Alabama punt its November game with Austin Peay for a Bama game with South Carolina or Oklahoma. First thought for Oklahoma, the SEC's tough enough, at least initially. Winning a non-con game is a lot better and safer than playing another SEC game, but the new format eliminates divisions in 2024. It's been split east and west since 1982, 92, I think. Yeah. The SEC title game will match the top 2 teams in the standings rather than the 2 division winners. Sankey wants, quote, fairness and balance and to preserve traditional rivalries, end quote. OU fans want bigger, faster, meaner athletes, and soon scheduling will take care of itself.
Well, Dean, you mentioned temporary, and I think you're right. They'll go to 9 conference games soon enough, and there will still be some howling over rivalries and semi-rivalries maybe not happening as often as they're used to. All right, as for the Big 12, conference meetings this week at the Greenbrier in West Virginia included Commissioner Brett Yormark going on record saying the league has a plan for expansion in the works. He says the Big 12 wants a national presence, and they've reached out to Gonzaga and now apparently UConn, which would further strengthen the conference in basketball. You think so? Yeah. Yormark also says he knows football is the driver, and it's been reported that Colorado may be considering a return. Your thoughts, Steve?
Well, John, we talked about it. I think you agree with part of this. Some people may think it's crazy to be talking about adding Gonzaga and UConn in basketball because of geography. But one, the commissioner loves the geography of having great teams coast to coast on TV sets from LA to the Big Apple, specifically Cali to Connecticut. And 2, adding those powers to the already golden Big 12 teams would provide the league with more stature and viewers and blue bloods. Zags at KU, UConn at Texas. Oh, wait, they're in the SEC by then, I guess. Hey, despite my opinion that the way too lax transfer rules and NIL money are making college sports the same as NFL free agency, I do believe that smart realignment is a positive. At some point, the ultra-aggressive Commissioner Yormark will get out over his skis, but for now, the league, John, is alive, largely due to him.
Yes, he's been very aggressive, very forward-thinking. All right, on the football side, Colorado They say they're staying, but they've also said they're leaving all options open. I think it depends on which person in the front office of the hierarchy you're talking to. In Arizona and Arizona State, we've heard a lot in recent months about Arizona really being interested. But the presidents of those schools said in March they're committed to the Pac-12. But the bottom line here is there's still no media rights deal. And like you said, Dean, it's all about the money.
Absolutely.
Well, up next,